reading group. I hope you've had another good week and are looking forward to another week in the reading class. I wanted to post a video to talk a little bit about how the work we're going to be doing and the reading you're going to be doing for this week and next is going to continue to build on what you have already learned about literacy in the class. So for the first week, you considered 21st century literacy skills, and then dove into text complexity and considered quantitative and qualitative factors and did an analysis of a sample text to consider what might the barriers be to students being able to read the text and comprehend it and interact with it. So then this last week, you looked at several different strategies for comprehension. So given the specific challenges for a text, what are some strategies that you can use before the students are reading, while they're reading, and then after they're reading to ensure that they are understanding and fully understanding beyond just, memorizing the information for a quiz. And so you guys came up with ideas for that and created a lesson plan where you addressed what you're going to have them do before, during, and after. So what we're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks is thinking about specific kinds of learners. And so we are addressing this topic of differentiation when it comes to literacy instruction. And then next week, we're going to get into motivation, which also overlaps the differentiation, because we know that students often fall into this category of students who are not able to read the text, and then students who will not or do not have an interest in reading the text. And so the strategies for this week specifically, you guys are going to be reading from Hinchman chapter 18 and Beers chapter 16, and that's everybody across the board. And so the first chapter that you're going to be reading from Hinchman talks about, what is differentiated literacy instruction and how might we make adjustments to help students best comprehend the text. And so they specifically talk about literacy in terms of students' readiness to read the text, students' interest in reading the text, and then addressing students' learning styles as we have them engage with the text. And they talk about differentiating the content, the process, the product, and then the assessment, which is how they will demonstrate their learning and how you will evaluate it. So what you're going to be doing with this for the assignment, there's 2 parts for the assignment that you'll do at the end of the week. For the first part, you are going to consider the lesson that you created for the last week, the BDA lesson, and considering ideas that you have for further differentiating the assignment. So hopefully you are keeping all of these things in mind even as you are creating the assignment, but now you are going to be considering how you can further differentiate depending on the learners in your class. So of course this is going to depend largely on your learners, and we don't have a set group of learners that you're working for. So you are going to be brainstorming ways that you could differentiate the assignment that you created initially, the lesson that you guys created initially for a variety of learners. And so you'll look through and say, okay, well, given students' readiness, how might I differentiate the process? Given students' interests, how might you differentiate the process? And then given students a variety of learning styles, how might you differentiate? So I gave you an example on the assignment here. So with the content, which in general, we're trying to keep the content the same because we want all of our students to engage with the same content. However, that might be scaffolding and supplementing. So for example, if the content that they are going to be reading, let's say that the subject matter is going to be really challenging for students, what I might do for the content is I might supplement by bringing in a YouTube video that addresses the topic in maybe an easier or a way that's more engaging for students. That might also be for the content, if that's content that students are going to grapple with, then in terms of readiness, I might do some additional pre-teaching with vocabulary or with concepts before the students are actually reading the text. So what can I do to best help kids who aren't ready, prepared to engage with the text, to help them to do so? And then the same thing with the interest. So if my initial process with reading the text was to have students, I said, oh, this is a pretty simple text for them to read, so I'm going to have them read the text initially on their own because it's going to be easy for them to read. Well, now I'm starting to think, sure, kids are ready for the text, but they may not be interested in the text. So what can I do to get them interested in the text? So you could also do some of the same things that I just mentioned. Maybe that's bringing in a video. Maybe that is doing a Zoom session with an expert in the area to get the kids interested in the topic. That could also be bringing in a specific question. So now I'm going to approach the chapter from an inquiry stance. That might be something like making it relevant to students' lives, so giving a scenario. But what are you going to do in your lesson for kids who are not going to have any interest in reading the text that you're assigning? So the same is true for learning style. So you're going to go through on this table and you're going to brainstorm ideas. You're not rewriting your whole lesson, but you're going to brainstorm ideas for how might I further adapt my lesson that you created for kids who are not ready, for kids who may lack interest, and then for a variety of learning styles. And you don't have to address every single learning style, but you might think about, in terms of the way that kids express their understanding of context in learning styles. Well, I may have kids in the class who are very creative. And so for the product, maybe initially I had the kids summarizing. Okay, well, summarizing isn't going to be as interesting for some kids, so why not allow the kids to create a video of what they learned, or create a skit of what they learned, or create a podcast of what they learned? And so you see that I'm differentiating the product based on students' learning style, so that students who don't learn it and demonstrate their learning in the same way have an opportunity to do so in a more creative way. So the second part of the assignment, and this will fit with the text that you guys are going to be reading from Adolescent Literacy. And this specifically addressed kids who struggle academically. So in the context of literacy, students who might struggle with reading, and a lot of times for students who struggle with reading, they struggle with connecting the concepts. So they have a hard time kind of piecing together. They've read something, but they aren't sure how all of the ideas fit together. And so a strategy that they recommend that you're going to see in this book are thinking maps, which are like graphic organizers, which can help kids to make sense of the text that they are reading. So it's kind of a scaffolding tool to help kids make sense. So what you're going to be doing for this part of the assignment is you are going to be choosing one of the thinking maps and talking about how you would use this with your assigned text, and even create a map that you would use with your class. So you can look through, you could see which one would be the most appropriate to help kids connect the content in the text as a scaffolding tool for your students who might struggle with comprehending and thinking through the ideas in the text. And you're welcome to alter these a little bit if you would like, if there's not one that fits perfectly, because teachers do that. Yes, we have these kind of overall thinking maps, but you're able to adapt this a little bit depending on what your text was about and what is important in helping your kiddos to comprehend the text. So that's the reading and the work that you will be doing for this week, and that's how it fits into the larger picture. As always, reach out to me. Let me know if you do have any questions or any concerns. I'm happy to help you out. Also, something real quick that I wanted to mention is if you did not see my email, the clip for the week is from the teaching channel, and I think it's a really good clip on differentiation and an inexperienced teacher asking questions about, what do I do for kids who aren't ready for the content? What do I do for kids who are already aware of the content? How do we differentiate, which we know can be really difficult. And so you may have to create an account for it to let you see the free video, so do so so that you're able to watch this video and thinking about the assignment and the work for this week.